All right, lesson 9-5, hyperbolas. So by the time we're done with this lesson, we should be able to write equations of hyperbolas and graph them. So to start with, a hyperbola is the set of all points in a plane such that the absolute value of the difference of the distances from the foci is a constant. Okay? And our parts are going to be center, foci, the transverse and conjugate axis, the vertices, and the asymptotes. Okay? So here's a picture of what a horizontal hyperbola would look like. So again, looking at this picture, these darker black lines, that's the hyperbola itself. So everything else is just extra to help us graph. Okay? So these 2 points, these are the vertices. So here we have the center, and then the foci, so each focus point, is going to be inside of these U-shapes. So remember, a hyperbola is kind of made up of 2 parabolas. And then these lines right here, these asymptotes, those are lines that our graph is going to follow, and it's going to get really close to that dotted line, but it's never going to touch or cross over it. So you kind of want to think of this as like a fence. So it's a barrier that our graph, again, gets really close to, but it can't cross it or touch it. And then the vertical one is just opening up and down instead of left and right. So, but all the parts are the same. So we still have the vertices. So again, the distance from the center to the vertex is still our A value. And then this way, so this conjugate axis, this is still our B value. So the idea is similar to the co-vertice on an ellipse for this part. And then the distance from the center to the focus, this distance is still the C value. Okay. And when we start looking at graphing these, we actually start with the center, and then our vertices, and then the conjugate axis. We actually make this little box here, and we would connect the corners of our box with our dotted lines to get the asymptotes. And then we're just going to do kind of a rough sketch of what the hyperbola itself is going to look like when we start graphing these. And then for all the equations, so that information is right here. Now, again, this is not something that we should be memorizing. Okay, it's more important to understand the parts on the picture. Okay? So the transverse axis always connects the vertices together, and then the conjugate, so conjugate means opposite, so it's the opposite direction. Okay? And then, again, the foci from the center to here, that's your C value. So these are the formulas for finding all of that, but again, don't memorize the formulas. Okay, so we just want to know how to apply the pieces. Now, the other thing that we need to take note of is our ABC relationship. So it is a little bit different from the ellipses, and that's because of where the foci are placed. So since the focus points are outside here, that means that our C value is going to be bigger than A. So instead of a minus here, we're going to have a plus for the hyperbolas. And then the only other equation that we just want to make sure that we have handy is this one. But again, don't memorize this formula. So these formulas are going to be given to you, and we just have to know how to substitute the things in correctly. And then if we go back up and just look at the general equation, so I'm going to cover all this up here so that we can focus on the equation itself. So here's the equation for our hyperbola. Some important things to note is we now have a minus sign in the middle instead of a plus sign. The A and B squared terms don't switch positions. So for these, it's okay if A is a smaller number than our B, whereas before that was not okay for the ellipse. Okay, but now it is. So to tell the direction from the equation, it's based on which term is positive. So if the x squared term is positive, it's horizontal. If the y squared term is positive, it is vertical. So the x and y positions are changing places on this based on the direction, but the k is still in with the y, and the h value is still in with the x, so that part hasn't changed. All right, so in the next set of videos, we're just going to go through a bunch of examples. Again, if you want these formulas, I would just pause the video and copy them down if you need them. And again, here's just some other pictures of what our graphs can look like. Okay, so again, the asymptotes. This part is our actual parabola. We have the transverse axis from vertice to vertice. The conjugate axis goes the opposite way. And then our foci, if we graphed it, would be inside of our U shapes. Okay. And again, horizontal opens left and right, vertical opens up and down. Okay. So again, in the next set of videos, we're just going to go through a bunch of example problems of writing the equations and then identifying all of this information in graphing.